Good afternoon. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of The Edge on IC Radio, your source for news and entertainment. IC for In Christ Radio. You can find us also, guys, I've got to tell you, you're also on television. Channel 182. Woo, glad you dressed up. Channel 182 on Sharp Communications. That's all in North Alabama. Then we are syndicated on Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast, netsnewsnetwork.net. You didn't know you was going to get all this kind of stuff, did you?
No, not at all.
Well, I'm glad to be with you guys today. And I want to make sure I get your name right, okay? And someone whose name, her initials are Paula, told me something else.
Old Paula. I spoke with her on the phone a few minutes ago.
That's my girl. That's my girl. So, Redeemers of Faith Quartet, and I have Devin with me, Marty, and Joe. It's so good to be with you guys today.
Hey, it's good.
We're excited to be here.
Yeah, I feel like Marsha on the Brady Bunch. It's so good to be with you guys. So, who wants to start off? Tell me about the group. What are you about?
Go ahead,
Well, 26 years ago is actually when we started the Redeemers of Faith. It started out with 5 of us guys who were in school together, and we decided that we wanted to do Christian music. And a lot of our friends, we lost a lot of friends from it because, you know, they called us all the names, the Holy Rollers and whatnot. But so we started the group, but we started out singing contemporary Christian. And then about 9 years ago now, we came back together and reformed as a Southern gospel group and formed as a quintet. And then when Devin came on, it was a quintet, and my oldest son was with us at the time. And since then, it's skyrocketed with Southern gospel, and we simply love it. And then Joe and our bass singer Tim came in, and I mean, we just had a blast.
Yeah, I want to have to tell you, Southern gospel, and it's big all over the country. I thought it was just in Alabama, but no, I mean,
No,
you're
negative.
everywhere. Yeah, absolutely. So, go ahead, Joe.
It is amazing to see what God's been doing through our ministry, and it is a ministry. We get out, and our sole purpose in singing is to share the love of Jesus Christ with everybody. And he's blessed us so abundantly. And you're right, because Southern gospel kind of took a downturn and died off for a little while. We're seeing it come back more and more and more and more these days. And I'm blessed to be a part of these guys that I travel and sing with.
Yeah, we've had Southern gospel, and it's this roots here in North Alabama. You know, Vestal Goodman. You know, with the good. Actually, she and my mother, her sister and my mother were good friends. And so Vestal, as a matter of fact, a little stretch of Highway 75 in North Alabama is called Vestal Goodman Highway.
Yeah, I recall seeing that. I've come up there last few years because my 16-year-old has been to Huntsville to Space Camp a couple of times, and you know, he's real big into that. He wants to become an engineer, but I remember seeing that on 75.
Yeah, I'm just right up above that in Geraldine, Alabama. So
okay.
We don't have a whole lot of claim to fame here.
Don't worry, our home.
But I'll tell you, we keep it to ourselves. It's beautiful country out in this area. So, Devin, tell us about what's your part in the group.
Well, it's actually for my wife and I. We've been together for a little over 8 years. And, that's actually how I learned about this group. Her name is Leah, and it's Marty. So that's how I learned about the group. Marty was singing an old cathedral song, Step Into the Water, one day. I said, man, I love that song. He asked me, what do you know about that? That's old music. I said, I may know more than you because I grew up on.
Wait a minute. You're kind of off and on, but I did hear you say old people. I'm old people, so be really careful there.
Welcome, Marty. Marty was singing Step Into the Water, and I said, I love that song in that group. And he said, what do you know about that? That's old music. I said, yeah, but I grew up on that music.
Okay, you just redeemed yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I'm in the Redeemers of Faith.
There you go. I need all the redemption I can get too. I really do. So now, what is your part in the group?
The ladies part. I sing tenor. On top of that, me and Marty kind of both own it. I own, I think, 24% of the group. As well as I kind of oversee the merchandise and things like that. But Joe's a godsend because he has a lot more experience with that, so he's kind of taking a little more on the reins of the merchandise stuff, which is perfectly fine with me. But
in other words, he's saying I'm an old person, just like
I was going to say.
pretty well always said.
So, how do you guys keep the group together? You know, because I mean, you guys seem like you really get along with each other really well.
Well, you know,
let me.
Truly, the hard is with that. We've been through a lot of members over the years. I've been in the group. We've been through a lot of members. But I can say about this group, this lineup, we're all on the same. We all have the same parts. Whereas we're not on. So I believe that's truthfully why we are where we are now.
I heard part of that, Joe. Joe, you want to come ahead and do a recap?
Well, you know, to sum up what Devin was saying, we have a kindred spirit. All four men in this group, we're just like natural born brothers to each other. In fact, I'll tell you a story as we're talking about how this group functions. Devin didn't tell you a minute ago that he has a nickname.
Oh, God.
It is Slaw, S-L-A-W. That's because he sings like a woman. But we can be on a stage in an auditorium somewhere. We can be at a church on an altar. We can be at a nursing home. We can be at a campground. And wherever we're at, we are worshiping Jesus Christ as a whole together. It's amazing to see. I've been doing this for 44 years. And the group lineup that we currently have standing on stage singing together, I feel like we're truly in connection with each other and true in one spirit to Jesus Christ. That's what makes us different, I think.
You know, back when COVID hit, I mean, I was talking to a lot of singers and a lot of groups, and they were talking about, you know, everybody was just kind of gasping for breath, like, oh my goodness, I hope it's not going to destroy Christianity. And I think it kind of backfired on, I won't say my opinion, but I think it backfired on how it got here and the reason for it. I really do. Because people are, I mean, they didn't stop.
No,
I can honestly say during COVID, and Devin can attest, we still did 82 dates during COVID. A lot of big time national groups and stuff were sitting home, and where we travel for a love offering, and we figure out what our fuel is going to be in the bus for us to get there and get home, and say, hey, we need this plus a love offering, and we showed up to churches where we set up outside and sang to hundreds of cars with people sitting in their cars. Or we showed up to this one church and the preacher says, hey, we got a good crowd here today. And we got in there and there was 4 or 5 video cameras sitting around everywhere. And there were only 9 people in the church. And I was like, okay, he said, we had a good crowd here today. He said, we got over 700 people signed on.
Yeah, see, that's the point. So
we sang to 9 people in the church and 5 cameras and over 700 people out there, and it was really cool. We did a lot of that. When they would praise with their hands, they would turn their wipers on. When they would get the spirit, or they'd cry, they'd make the washer fluid squirt on the windshield. When they'd clap, they'd blow their horn to clap, and I mean it was an experience that I had never seen before, and it was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I look at it, too. And you really can't get a good Christian down. I mean, no matter how hard you try, we find ways. We'll swim over it. We'll jump over it. We'll jump the hurdle. We'll go under the hurdle. We'll do whatever we need to do, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. Joe has a saying that he always says from the stage about places we go like that, about being a Christian, you should be the happiest person on the face of the earth because we already know the outcome. We already know we win. But his little saying it tickles me every time.
I got you right here. We've sang in places where people look like they were born on the dark side of the moon, baptized in vinegar, and weaned on dill pickles.
I know. And let's just say I'm a lost person walking into this church and I see people like that. I'm probably going to run the other way.
Exactly.
Whoa,
we call them the frozen chosen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Devin actually changed our name, our denomination of the membership because we get booked to do a lot of homecomings. So they feed us a lot. So we changed our denomination to Free Meal Baptist. So now Free Meal Baptist.
Oh, you get a kick out of this. Really, there's not a whole lot of difference between. I'm just going to use Catholic, for example. I have a friend who's a Catholic. And so she asked me to come and speak to the women's group and some Southern Baptist. And she said, "No, look, I know you're Southern Baptist, and basically Billy Graham is your Pope." And so,
that's right.
She said, "But I just wondered if you'd come and speak." She said, because, she liked what I had to say. So I went, and I'm going to have to tell you, there was really no difference in that church because there was food everywhere. I mean, I looked around and there were staples of desserts and chicken and everything else. And I said, "Are you sure I'm not in a Baptist church? Because this looks like I got everybody off on the right note."
They will come.
If you feed them, they will come. That's true, Devin.
Yeah, true. And it is so true. I know I go to Cowboy Church, and it's a Lookout Mountain Cowboy Church, kind of halfway between Collinsville and Fort Payne, Alabama.
I know exactly.
They believe in feeding people too. They actually take groups of, just take groups of guys and they'll go cook out. They'll spend the night. I know when the flooding hit in Kentucky, they fed, I don't know how many hundreds of people up there.
Wow.
So
Wow.
We invite you to come to the Cowboy Church, by the way. You'll be loved to death.
Hey,
we'll come.
We sing in Cowboy churches quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, guys, half the show is over. We're going to have to go into a commercial break. I told you it'd fly by. We'll be right back in just a few minutes. Everybody hang in there, okay?
All right.
At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant.
Okay, we are back. My name is Donna, and I am your host of The Edge on IC Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications. That's in North Alabama. You can also find us on Abundance Television, that's syndicated, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Don't forget the podcast, netsnewsnetwork.net. By the way, that's a really good podcast. I can't believe I'm part of that group. But I will say this, if you get your feelings hurt really easy, you don't even go there, okay? Some of those hosts will just really spill it out like it is. I have Redeemers of Faith Quartet with me right now. We're having a blast with them. Love the group. You guys are awesome.
Oh,
Thank you.
We love y'all.
Well, let me ask you a question. So I know COVID hit. We talk about this all the time. And I mention this to every group who comes on the show. So what was really meant for our harm really wound up not hurting us at all. We just found new ways to go around it. But what are people saying now that they're coming back to your concerts? They're not in cars anymore, and they're just coming back in. Do you see any change in the audience?
Well, I can say, honestly, you can see a change in churches because during those times, there were still churches that were letting their members come in and stuff like that. And you could tell the faithful followers that stayed in the church, and they kept coming no matter what happened. And you can, it may just be me, I'm not sure, but you can feel that when you go into a church like that. And those are some of the best services we have, when you can walk in the door and you can feel the presence of God. And that's just what we go for. But you can also feel the other churches that they used it as an excuse, maybe I could say, to kind of stay home and watch it on Facebook or something like that. But hey, if they're still getting the message, and praise the Lord, but you can feel the difference in churches.
I was just never really good at doing the online thing, because I'm just telling you, I would sit and I would see a spider web or something and I would have to go get it. And so I just wasn't, my husband said, you just really need to be back at church. And I said, yeah, I really do, because it's not working out for me, but it works out great for some people.
To me, it didn't offer the same feeling of being there, watching it on live stream or something, versus sitting in there and seeing, being able to see the compassion or feel the words as they're spoken was a big deal for me.
I get it, because you're people. You're a people person, and when you can look at somebody in the eyeballs and you can know exactly.
That's exactly right.
What feels good, Donna? We
all right, now we can't hear Joe.
Now he's going in and out like I
You're
was.
going in and out, Joe.
Can you hear me now?
Unfortunately.
It was just a few weeks ago. We were doing a concert, and a lady came to me after, and she said, I didn't know it could be this fun to go to church again.
Yeah.
That means we're doing something right.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, you are. Yeah, I mean, there has to be, I mean, I do too. And like I said, the church we're going to there it's like it was back in the olden days. I've heard my grandparents talk about church, you know, how it used to be back then. It's kind of like that there. But I think it seems to me like churches are trying to get back to the roots again.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, ma'am, 100%. We've seen so much change. In fact, Devin, you can tell them, just in our concerts alone this year, how many have we seen saved and rededicated?
Since January, we have seen 6 saved, 9 rededications, and let's see, what was the other numbers? 12. No, that was all. It was 6 saved and 9 rededications. Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing to watch God do so many awesome things through what we're doing, and we're just getting up there and using the talent that He gave us to spread His word through the songs that we've been blessed with.
Marty, let me ask you a question. So, I mean, people seem to be looking for something. Are you noticing that as well with the folks that are coming to your concerts?
We are. We just this past Saturday, we actually did a concert benefit for our bass singer who, excuse me, who has to have a liver transplant, and we were doing this concert, and this lady, she came up to me and she said, you know, I've been looking for a church to go to. She said, and I saw that y'all were going to be here, and a friend of mine said, hey, let's go listen to these guys sing, because it was us and another group who were there. And after the concert, she called me. She came up and she said, I just really want y'all to know you blessed my heart. She said, I didn't even know this church was here. And she said, I just lived 3 blocks away. She said, I've seen it. She said, but I thought it was just closed. She said, I think I might start coming to church here. She said, but you guys reaffirmed my faith and gave me something to look forward to, because it's like he said, being a Christian is this much fun when we get to share the stage and tell people our life stories and what our faith means to us and why we do what we do. And it was just overwhelming by how many people kept coming up to us and say, hey, y'all really blessed me. You really blessed me. Mm-hmm. This is what I needed. I needed something like this for a long time. And you gave me, and one gentleman, he told me, he said, I remember, and he was probably in his 70s. He said, y'all took me back to when I was a little boy, going to church, because we have an a cappella song we sing, "This Little Light of Mine," and then go into Jesus on the Main Line with it. And he goes, I learned that church. I learned that song in church in nursery school, and he said, "Y'all just really blessed my heart with it." So it's getting in touch with some folks and getting folks to tune back in. So
Yeah, sometimes it just kind of takes something. I know, like my personality, I have to be hit over the head a few times before I get it. And sometimes, things happen. And like right now, I think the world is in a mess. I'm looking for World War III to break out just at any moment. I mean, I don't think I'm exaggerating there at all. No. And people are just a little worried. They're concerned because their dollar's not stretching as far as it used to. And, the price of groceries have really went up. And
could I touch on that one real quick? I've kind of noticed that too, what all Marty was saying and stuff. But, I feel like a lot of people are going now that are looking for hope in a hopeless world, or joy in a depressing world. And to be able to offer that, it's nothing we do. It's just we've been through enough and still going through trials. But Tim Burrows once said, you can't have a testimony without a test. And to be able to share that and tell people and say, hey, there's light at the end of the tunnel. There is joy. You can honestly and truly praise through the worst of times. And I think that's why most people have been coming to hear us sing, because we do that. That's all we're doing is worshiping through tests and trials.
And then you guys have a chemistry, and that helps too. You have a chemistry.
Oh, yeah.
So let me ask you another question, Devin, and this pertains to people who watch the news all the time. I have friends who do that. I'm in the business. I have to know what's going on, but I'm very selective. I could not stand to hear it 24/7. What's your suggestion to young folks who they're just intrigued? They just have to know everything. It's like the same story over and over and over all day long. What do you say?
As far as watching the news or anything like that, check it with the Bible first before you go believing whatever's said, because there's a lot of liars in the world, and especially politicians. It doesn't matter what side of the party they're on; they're all out to get. And our age and younger, it's very, very easy to be misled, and it's just best to, if you are kind of like me, like I'm not a big Bible scholar or anything. I can't tell you verse for verse or anything, but my pastor, that's who I can trust and I can go to and say, hey, I heard this. What's the outtake there? What's going on? Or my uncle's actually a pastor. So it's good to have Christian friends. That's another thing I learned is I've been in the wrong crowds and I've been in the right crowds. And I would much rather be in the right crowds because the wrong crowd is always going to lead you the wrong way.
Mm-hmm. Marty, what would you say to the person who says, well, I'm just going to do it my way. I think I know what's best. I know more than God does. So what do you say to that person?
Well, I can tell them that from being in law enforcement for 26 years as well, I'm still active police officer.
Thank you for your service, by the way. Thank you.
You're welcome. I have seen it all that can possibly be seen, and there's things that people have their mind couldn't even wrap around the kind of stuff that evil that human beings can do to one another. Mm-hmm. And I tell people, if you get on board the train and God's driving, you don't have to worry about a derailment. You don't have to worry about getting off at the wrong stop. But if you want to get on that old long black train, as Josh Turner says about riding with the devil, it's only going to take you one place. He's going to take you straight to hell. It's hot there. It gets hot here in the South. And I'm going to tell you, there's no ice water down there. And people need to realize when they read the Bible, that is God's story told by man, because God gave them the story to tell. And the good thing about this is how we know that we can trust it and what it is. it tells us the past, it predicts the future,
Mhm.
and it tells us the very end. It tells us the very end. That story's already written. He's seen it he started it, and he sees it through all the way to the end. And if you can't trust that and get on board, something's wrong, because he tells you what's happening and what's going to happen. And it's like Devin said, I had a friend who gave me a Bible one time before a church group, and I was selected as their officer of the month to give a little basket to. And inside it had a Bible for first responders. But in the front half, it said that it was a quick exercise reference. So a lot of stuff in law enforcement that I would go through or I would see, I could open it up and it would point me to the exact scripture
Mhm.
that would go along with what I was feeling or what I was seeing or what I was doing. And it is so spot on. Now, this book was written thousands of years ago. So how can you not distrust it if it's spot on today? And it was written thousands of years ago by somebody that I don't know, never met. All I know is he wrote this book in the Bible. But it is the exact instance of what's going on and what has taken place.
You know something? I had one of my sponsors one time said, "Well, there's nothing really in there that pertains to business people." And I said, "Are you kidding me? Proverbs is like, if you'll do the Proverbs, if all you're going to do is Proverbs, you'll be a success in business."
That's right. That's exactly right. It lays out the whole foundation for you there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We have just about a minute left. So, Joe, where are you guys going to be next? Do you come to Alabama?
We want to come to Alabama. We'd love to come to Alabama. So, Marty has to give you all that information. He's like a running clock in his head. But we're up in North Carolina this coming Sunday singing. And
I love North Carolina. My son lives up there in a place called Creedmoor, North Carolina, the mule capital of the world.
Well, in 2 weeks, we're over in Waterloo, South Carolina, with our good friend Danny Funderburg. So that's going to be a really great night. And God's just opening so many doors, Donna, that it's not even funny.
We'll be at NQC in September.
Yep, September 30th.
Awesome. Well, you guys
Marty,
need to keep me updated on all of your play. And another thing is, we have every Friday, we have the top 50 requested songs. So if you guys would like to hear them, we actually play their music here at the station. You can go to the website, icradio.media, and you can also download the app, and that's on Apple and on Amazon, and just pick some songs. And now you can only do one per hour, okay? So we got it limited to some of you guys, but anyway, you never know, because sometimes people are up like number 1, then they could drop to number 50, because this is what we do. Our station is actually the listeners boss us and tell us what to play.
That's good. So
you just request a song and ding, it goes in there. I don't even have to lift a finger. You're doing the work for me.
Wow.
We do.
We appreciate that. Absolutely.
You're talking about our next concert. We are actually in Spartanburg tonight.
Oh, okay.
We're at Spartanburg.
Joe, you and Devin know that, okay? Guys, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much for having us.
Well, it's my pleasure. Anytime you want to, okay? All you have to do is let me know. And
We surely will. Thank you so much, Donna.
And thank you. And thank you so much for watching The Edge. You are awesome. You're the apple of my eyeballs. All of our listeners tell us what to do. You can find us on television, channel 182, on Charter Communications and Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Thanks, guys. It's been nice to be on the Brady Bunch today.
Later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.